It's hot out here. I actually like making videos on topics that none of the rest of these YouTube photography channel idiots and lens sniffers make videos on, specifically when it regards lens haze. I was reminded to make this video, and I had not made a succinct video about this myself, which I thought I'd covered every topic of things to pay attention to. And I was actually cooking a steak a couple hours ago, and of course, you know, when the olive oil in the pan started popping, and you know, you're cooking a steak, and afterwards, this usually happens. You take your glasses off, and you notice like thousands of little tiny dots of oil on your glasses. And I stepped outside to take out the garbage. Very mundane, and you know, you just since it's really bright and sunny outside, I get this immediate haze. This kind of like someone threw up an enormous amount of flare into my eyes, and I was reminded that I had not made a succinct video about this regarding lens haze. And the reason what lens haze is no different than cooking a steak, you know, on the stovetop like I was doing, where the oil droplets will actually, you know, pop up, and little tiny ones. You can't feel them, but you'll see them on your glasses. The same thing actually happens when you get your lenses hot. This occurs a lot less now on modern lenses, except for stuff like Leica lenses, Voigtlander lenses, and Zeiss lenses. I'll tell you why in just a second. The reason why those are so important. But the modern lenses from Nikon and Fujifilm, they're mostly polymer and plastic, and they require extremely little lubrication. A lot of polymers are almost like self-lubricating parts. They have very low friction, and they actually work off of stainless steel bearings that actually fit inside polymer or plastic grooves when you go to zoom the lens specifically. But the autofocus moving elements use almost no lubrication. They are susceptible to haze, but extremely low susceptibility. The reason why you don't want to get any of the older lenses, or now there's several more than this, the Chinese lenses, for example, that are, you know, basically cheaper versions of like Zeiss and Voigtlander, but any modern Zeiss lens or Voigtlander lens or a Leica lens, these lenses that are mostly metal, that's wonderful and all, but like on certain Zeiss lenses, like the 100mm macro, you can actually focus it all the way out, and you can look in there and you will see a crap load of grease. I mean, a crap load. Once a lens gets haze, could you technically take it apart? Well, you couldn't, but you could pay someone a lot of money and they'll never get the lens realigned. It basically just ruins the damn lens. When you get a lens hot like this, people leave their camera or, of course, the lens attached to the camera in a hot car. It doesn't actually take all that long for the haze. What it is the atomization of the grease particles in the helicoil. That is the corkscrew, multi-corkscrew mechanism. Actually, on some of the Zeiss lenses, is actually a single dual helix corkscrew for the grease to atomize, and then it attaches, kind of like when you're cooking a steak. It's a perfect analogy. You can't feel those little tiny microscopic droplets of oil, you know, hitting your face, but sure enough, just thousands of them land on your lens. The reason why lenses are AR coated is for several reasons, but the primary reason is to cut down on diffusion. This is extremely necessary on modern lenses that actually have more than, roughly more than 6 elements, because you need to cut down on that inner element light bounce where the light is scattered. What those millions of little tiny droplets of oil do, and you pick up a lens that has haze, and a lot of these idiots, they just don't realize they'll store like a lens in a hot attic or a hot garage, or they'll leave it out in their hot car, and it doesn't take long for haze to completely destroy a lens. Like I said, modern lenses are not that susceptible, but except for Zeiss, Voigtlander, Leica, the Chinese lenses, basically any of those lenses that are mostly metal, yeah, they got a lot of grease in the helicoil, and it atomizes, and it basically drops on the lenses, the internal elements, and it will ruin any image. It just ruins it. And you're like, well, that's just an issue with like flare, with like sunlight coming in at a strong incident angle, and that's not true. Like taking pictures of objects that are extremely reflective, like white objects or yellow objects or really bright scenery like this little, you see this bright, ground cover behind me? You take a picture of stuff like that and it will cause this nasty, nasty image, something that nobody wants. Actually, you used to be able to buy a filter that would actually mimic haze. It was actually really popular in the 80s for boudoir photography. I think the people, no, I never had a subscription. The people that perfected it was like Penthouse magazine. There was jokes like every image. And they used to do this too, to get that, like you take a picture of an ugly person, like in the days of film, like someone that's slightly, have a few facial blemishes. Yeah, you shoot them in strong light and you smear. You'd actually, this is true, I've seen people do this before back in the day. They'd smear some oil off of their face and they'd rub it on the front filter and it would cause this diffusion. And the days before Photoshop, right? And it would remove some of the facial blemishes. It is one of the many countless photographers' tricks. But that's something that you could remove. And this is on the inside of your lens. So don't get your lenses hot. Don't leave them in a hot car. Don't store them in your frigging garage. And a lot of people keep their houses hot, either to save energy or what. Don't let your lenses get too damn hot. And this is vitally important if you got some of those expensive Zeiss and Voigtlander lenses. There's a lot of grease in those. Am I exaggerating? No. There is a lot of grease in those lenses. A lot. I've actually seen a couple Zeiss lenses through the rear with the lens focused all the way out. I could actually see deeply into the helicoil. And Zeiss put a lot of grease in there. I mean, a lot. I mean, like older Zeiss lenses? No. Modern Zeiss lenses. Don't get those lenses hot. If you do, it's just destroying the lens. And I'm pretty sure your expensive Zeiss lens, the last thing you wanted to do was to ruin it. Yes. I'm going to go out walking because, the tattooed monkey needs exercise. I'm really busy the past few days, but anyway. I like making videos on stuff nobody else talks about. And it's important because it saves you money, saves you time, saves you stress. And then someone's going to rant about this video. You could have said this shit in 3 minutes. It took you 7 minutes to say something you could have said in 2 minutes. You suck. You're right, I do. Yeah, I suck. Damn, the mosquitoes are biting the shit out of me. Damn! I hate mosquitoes. I hate them.